Awesome. Welcome to the Housing Community Development Committee meeting. The date is Wednesday, September the 9th, 2020. The time is 6:33 p.m. The first item on the agenda is our, I just did the call to order. The first item on the agenda is our roll call, starting with Alderwoman Ellie Tierney.
Present.
Teresa Bond.
Present.
And Nancy Lipson.
Present.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was
July something.
it was July the
8th.
July the 8th. So
Yeah.
motion for the amendments of July the 8th. I'm sorry, the minutes of July the 8th.
So moved.
Seconded. I second
All in
it.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the update on the Affordable Housing Task Force. And so last night we met and so we discussed for about an hour some of the logistics of the task force over the next couple of months. So a concrete end date is now either the 16th or the 17th of December. Has to be approved by our council and then law. And so over the next 2 months, the task force will meet weekly. The subcommittees will meet weekly, and just trying to make sure that we can produce a product that has a vision attached to it. More recommendations, no physical changes, more recommendations at this point in what we would like to see done, for example, with this piece of property, or what we would like to see done with this community, and also bringing to the table how it could be funded, because often we talk about the redevelopment or development of properties, but we don't have ways to fund it, or we don't have developers that are interested. And I think in this case, and since last night and our conversations today, we have agreed that it does take bringing the developers to the table and having that conversation with them step by step, so that the funding can come along with the project. So at the end of it, I really do think that we could have one or two legitimate developments come out of this mixed use that would include housing and commercial sides. So I'm hopeful. I really am. Both Nancy, Ellie, and Teresa are participating in one way or another. Teresa's been a great resource and just giving us the knowledge that we really needed, because we didn't, we came in and most of it is in the 5-year consolidated plan. And so just getting people to read that and also dragging some outside information is kind of what we're stuck in right now. But I'll let everyone else talk, and we can kind of open up for discussion on this.
Well, it's clear there are a lot of people with a lot of interests in coming to some kind of a product, but it's still unclear to me how we're going to get there. I think once we get the whole list of our subcommittees and start meeting within those, we'll have a better understanding of what it is we can actually achieve. Because I'm a little skeptical right now of what we can achieve. I mean, it's one thing to figure out whether the purpose is to come up with specific developments and ideas about that, or is it more about products and policies that the city should pursue over time and help lead to a plan for the city and how they want to develop affordable housing in general. And I'm still not quite clear on that. And I'm hoping that during the subcommittee meetings we'll get to that point. I don't know if I'm off base, but
no, I think and so last night myself, Elijah, and Eric, I'm blanking. we spoke, and Eric, and so that'll likely be that the chair and co-chair, because they submitted apps, and only two. And so I thought they were most active. I already knew Eric was going to submit one. And so he is all hands on. And so I asked him, could we do both? And with their professional experience, and with the vision that I think I have by creating this task force, could we do both? And I explained to them what I thought, and then they explained to me what we thought. And we have very, very good conversation. We plan to meet this week, I think, to come to the table again and create that path so that we could potentially do both, or maybe I was just biting too much of the cookie, as they say, with trying to provide the additional actual vision outside of the policy. But I don't know. I'm hopeful, but I will also obviously leave it to the experts.
We probably.
Can you list the subcommittees? What subcommittees are there?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me 1 second.
While you're looking, just wanted to see if you wanted me to, now that I have everybody's email, I can go ahead and send them the link to the consolidated plan. Would you like me to do that?
To the
Consolidated plan, yeah.
Yeah.
I can go ahead and send the link
Good idea. That'll
to everybody.
give people thinking more broadly, I think, when they see it.
Right. And don't forget, we've also got the comprehensive plan. There's a
Right.
whole housing section on that too. So all of this is kind of got to mesh
Yeah.
together in some way or another.
You got the contact list already?
It's in the email. When you email
Yeah.
everybody,
Oh,
their contacts in there. And
no, I thought you were talking about last night when I was sending out the phone numbers and stuff. I'm like, I thought I saved that as a draft.
no. I'm talking about the email list. I could send everybody that's on the email list
Yeah, absolutely.
the
Thank
link
you.
to the consolidated plan. And speaking of that, we're going to be, I guess we're going to have a work session on the consolidated plan on the 17th of September at 3 o'clock, a work session, and the consultants agreed to come and make the presentation.
Oh, perfect.
So Dwan, I have to apologize. What did I screw up on? I saw all the emails, but I didn't realize the meeting was last night. What was I thinking? How did I screw up?
No, it wasn't your fault.
You can be forgiven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So what happened is when I was drafting the invitation, for some reason I had the city council meeting on my mind. And so I typed everything up as September the 14th.
Right.
Then, and when I sent it out, I'm like, that's our city council meeting.
Oh, dear.
So
Yeah.
then I sent back,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no, this is the date. And then Julian sent back, we can't do that because we have a conflict with the town hall. So then we had to come back and agree to do it last night. So there was just a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
So what I'm working on now is sending out that link that'll have the poll again so that we can pick a date for next week.
Okay.
That won't interfere with Julian's times, because now that the council is back in session, we hog all the TV time. So
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I know I wasn't there, but I you and I met with Eric, and it isn't much time. And to Nancy's point, it would be nice if we sort of agreed, like you said, do both, but to agree on that model that we talked about, where, instead of waiting to come to this conclusion, maybe come to that conclusion earlier, that we can't just have low income housing, that, we have to find a way to have mixed use so that there's not a label on it, and then have that commercial opportunity. And then how do we do that? That would be really, it would be great if we didn't wait to the end to realize.
The biggest thing is us finding space for either redevelopment or, new construction without demolition.
So and to that point, I think there are, I don't know if I'll have to check.
And it meets the zoning.
I'll have to check with law before I send it out an email and attach it to the group, because I don't want to step over any legal boundaries. But we have identified what we believe are, 4 areas along the Forest Drive corridor that are open for development, that have been either bidded on over the course of the last couple of years, but have either failed because they haven't gotten community support, or they just couldn't get the deal done. And so we obviously have identified those pieces of land. And I think that, again, to the point of pairing this group and creating or looking at our plan and kind of what we talked about last night and pairing that with the site and a developer, I don't know. To me, that sounds like a pot. You stir it up, you make a development. But again, I am not. I don't want to be naive. You know, like I want to allow the process to work itself out, and I want to allow the experts to coach me on how an actual development works. You know.
Can you do me a favor and send me what those 4 areas are?
Yeah.
So I can research them and make sure,
Right.
you know, they're zoned, you know, if.
Okay.
Are they the ones
The
that
other-
identified in the Forest Drive sector study, Dwan, the opportunity sites, or?
So they are. Well, I'll say one, obviously, because everybody knows about the Rural Farms development on the corner. And what was so promising about that when they went before the Planning Commission is that the Planning Commission, outside of them hating the fact that it had the gas station attached to it, they believed in the project, and they believed that in the changing times, and they wanted to support something that was a business and that offered residential housing as well, because to just make that something that is not useful to the public in terms of housing, I think it's just it has to be, you know, when we talk about taking the next step into development and looking at how we can make the best out of the little bit of land that we do have. I think that's the only way we can do it. And so I'll go back and find that Planning Commission video, actually, because I thought their comments that night were absolutely great. And they spoke to a lot of the points I think that we're trying to address.
And it's really important, because I've had affordable housing developers say to me, we want to do projects in Annapolis, but we can't find land. We can't find land available to do. Basically, if you're going to do a multi-family project, you need, what would it be, Nancy? A minimum of like 40 some units to make it financially feasible.
Something like
that. So I keep hearing.
So
that.
Can I make a suggestion, though, that if you know those 4 sites, you give addresses, then those sites can be looked at in more detail in terms of constraints, because, you know,
Right.
Are there environmental issues? Are those reasons of deals they can do the background analysis and find the sites that may actually offer some kind of promise. But
Right.
you need that back, because it's actually, that development process is just what it is. I mean, it's not complicated in some
Right.
ways. It's plain and simple. The
Yeah.
size of the site, its constraints, you know, environmental issues. So that probably is, if those sites have already been looked at for development, that analysis has probably already been done.
Yeah.
I don't know which
more,
ones they are. So
some more ready than others. You know, but I will definitely send that list to you guys. Just so that everyone can look over, make comments or suggestions.
because we want to run them through planning and zoning and look at zoning issues and stuff like that before. You know, that's really important to do in advance.
That answers my question, which was the purpose of the task force appears to be focusing on a couple of areas that the city wants to have as development for affordable housing.
When you say areas, Nancy, do you mean sites or do you mean communities?
I mean, sites, it sounds like.
What I'm wondering is, you know, and okay, I don't mean take any, I'm just going to put this out there, that you need the policies to encourage the development. You can be looking at the ability to develop these sites through planning and zoning and gathering all the information separately, and then create those policies that will actually be able to do it.
But
I think a lot of the policies are already there.
Yeah.
Well,
But they'll find that out, Teresa. They'll find that out.
Yeah.
Some are there and some are needed, and I think
if we all know what the sites are, maybe we can figure out exactly what it is we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that will become clear. Clear again. The only reason I just didn't say is because I don't know if it's okay with the law office or not. I don't want to get in trouble for like advertising land or something.
Probably
Right.
don't want to do that yet either.
But you can let your staff look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that though it all will work hand in hand, because we also have policies and recommendations, and if they find that there are policies, i.e. zoning, that need to be adjusted, then they make those recommendations and stuff, and then the council has to make the according to the resolution, has to take action on those recommendations by January the 31st. So it gives flexibility, I think. But just really quickly, to Teresa's point, I'll read the committees. We have policies and recommendations. Do you want me to read the description of it as well?
Is that on the website? Is there a website that has all this information?
We don't have the task force website yet, but this definitely can be found. Our 2920 is
Okay.
available on the City of Annapolis website. And so you just type that in. You can actually go to the councilors, just click my name, legislation, and this will be like one of the first ones.
And it will have the subcommittees already. They were set up in legislation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Then I don't want to waste your time. I can look it up. That's good.
Okay,
Thank
okay,
you.
perfect. No problem. But yeah, obviously just molding it. And like I said, I talked to the crew from Pittsburgh, and when I got a chance to talk to them, they were more from the perspective of they didn't have like any like I was saying last night, they didn't have the housing trust fund, MPDU, like just any of that. So we were ahead, at least in that point. And we're just adding, I think, to what they've created in this task force. And so I'm also hopeful. I think either tomorrow, I don't know yet. I gotta wait for the city to get back to me. But we're doing a quick trip, one up, one down, to go look at a couple of their developments. Some of them, most of them, using 4% credits, and they are just, like stunning developments in that city. And this is just from their task force in 2016. It was completed in 2016. So to see those projects come to life is crazy. And so that's where I would like. They did get a couple of nines. And they did do that actually. And so when I was talking, he's in their planning director will send me a list of all the properties that I should check out this weekend. But yeah, they did. I think they had 2 projects at 9 with the 9% credit.
Most of ours have been affordable housing projects, have been 9% in the city. I think most of them have been 9%.
Really?
Yeah.
Just-
We've had pretty good developers, and Penrose did a really good job on Oberry and on College Creek, and Landex did Annapolis Gardens and Bowman Court. Those were the housing authority properties. And then you got all the rest of them that are, project-based Section 8. And I think most of them have been 9%, except for this last one, the Newtown. And that really wasn't, that was a problem because of the way the QAP, the way DHCD makes their selections. It was slanted more towards Baltimore City because of some fair housing issues from a long time ago. So
yeah, all of that was, and I don't know the rule that I don't know how it was referenced. I remember when the individuals came before us, this committee actually, and they were saying that a bit like they look at the income from the entire area, and because our average income is so high, we get overlooked for stuff like that. But we still have these communities that need to be redeveloped, need to be redeveloped, unfortunately.
Well, we've been pretty good with them. The housing authority, there were 10 developments and 5 of them have been done. 2 are underway, so there's only 3 left.
Yeah, the big 3.
Yeah. So, and the biggest, most complicated one is going to be Harbor House Eastport Terrace. So
I don't get or understand how that can be complicated.
Because it's a lot of land and it's a density.
It is a lot of land, and it is in the density. But if everybody, and this is what I think the consent decree, I hope it brings this energy. We don't have a choice. the courts have said it needs to be done. You know,
yeah.
density needs to be increased. We have to make it attractive, you know, for the developer to even want to get invested. I think if that happens and you open it up, as she said earlier, development is kind of development, the money will come. People will look at that and they'll be like, oh my God, this is, they can see $100 million from a mile away with that water and the
water access. The water access makes it a prime piece of real estate.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you get a chance, if anybody gets a chance, if you want to see what the Housing Authority has planned, Melissa Maddox Evans did a presentation before the Planning Commission, and she's laid out her whole plan on what she's doing and what money she's going to use and which projects are going to get done. And I don't know if you all got a chance to watch it, but it's on YouTube. Oh. And it's a very good presentation because it kind of lets you know where the Housing Authority is going with their redevelopment and
so the housing task force, we're not really including the redevelopment of HACA properties, or I mean, isn't that part of the whole initiative on affordable housing, or are we just focused on
we are not getting engaged and involved with HACA.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that it would have been great to do so, but the state had already remember they took the payment in lieu of taxes money and they held that against us, and then we had to do the HACA task force in order to get the pilot money. So they had already done that, and I believe it is still currently in progress as well.
I think it's like 40,000 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, $40,000.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand, because I don't know if that's going with the consent decree. Is it separate from the work group that the consent decree? I mean, there are 18 people trying to fix the issues of HACA, and I think that if everybody gets on one page instead of everybody trying to come out the victor and the hero of I saved HACA, it would be so much easier,
Right.
Yeah, and so that just, I don't know, that's my 2 cents, but I'm 23, so.
Dwan, just so you know, Pittsburgh was sort of going back years and years. They have been at the forefront of urban development and housing. Action Housing started in the 50s. I don't know if you've talked to them at all, but they're a nonprofit developer.
You said it was called Action Housing?
Action Housing, yeah. And the city, that's where I grew up. I also went to graduate school there at the University of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And Pittsburgh has always been at the forefront of urban development and redevelopment. I don't know who the current city planning director is, but they have always led.
He says that they didn't have the or infrastructure set up for funding to fund the affordable housing projects, or just those missing things. I don't want to throw it out there as if he was saying that they didn't have anything down pat, but just some of the little things that we have had that for some time.
That may very well be, but from years back, they have a tremendous history of development and redevelopment. Us old people have read the
do you know Slippery Rock?
I know Slippery Rock.
I went to school there.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Up in Western Pennsylvania.
Oh, Western Pennsylvania. Yeah, I grew up in Pittsburgh.
Awesome.
And my father actually was the general counsel of the Allegheny County Redevelopment Authority.
Wow.
You got deep roots.
I have deep roots. Yeah, deep roots.
What you doing this weekend?
Actually, I should go up. I haven't been up there for a long time. I haven't been up for a while, and I need to go see my sister-in-law. But
we should make a trip of it, honestly.
At some point, maybe. Yeah.
Get a nice Priamanti bros on the way. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
they
the
have,
news from Pittsburgh is that the Oak, the big, what do they call it? The O shop closed, the hot dog with the famous.
oh yeah, the oh God, what were they? It was in on Center Avenue.
They had the best French
Stations,
fries. Yeah.
Stations
People
hot dog.
say it was for their French fries. My brother and his wife lived in Mount Lebanon outside of Pitt.
Yeah, I grew up in Squirrel Hill, so
Yeah.
which is next to Oakland, which is where all
It's a small
First-
world, I tell you.
yeah, it is. It is.
For real. So any other questions about the task force, or we want to discuss a little bit more? I think that we, obviously there are still some questions, but I think that at the end of this meeting with Richard and Elijah this week, things will be nailed down ahead of next week's meeting, and ahead of definitely before the subcommittees break out and meet. So that will get done. Is there any other questions on that while we're still on this item on the agenda?
Those are Zoom meetings. We're keeping them Zoom or hangout or
The task force meetings, yeah, they'll definitely be Zoom.
Yeah.
We will have one public meeting, October the 7th. But that is for the general public to give feedback on what they'd like to see in public housing, or what they think public housing is. But there's so many definitions of affordable housing. Affordable housing. There's so many definitions on that. As I'm learning today, 3 people sent 3 different definitions of what affordable housing means to them, and I'm just like, so some people bring metrics into it. Some people think, like just the visual rent and all of that. So it's a lot. But yeah, I believe we'll get to the bottom of that.
I saved the I haven't read it yet, but who sent the 10 bookmarks of affordable housing today or something? It was
Mike Pitchford. Yeah.
that looks like it's good information.
Now Mike Pitchford developed Admiral Oaks and the residences at Bates.
Yeah.
So he's the developer for those 2 projects.
Yeah, he developed Admiral Oaks. That was the first place I moved when I moved to the city of Annapolis. Yeah. I told him he kind of helped bring me here in a way. So the next item on the agenda is the CDBG fiscal year 22. So I'm not sure if everyone has had an opportunity to look over the draft that Teresa sent out. Teresa, I'll turn the floor over to you on this one.
Okay, well, it's CDBG time again.
Yeah.
It's like it's always CDBG time.
Right.
So
Hey,
this is
still exists, right?
yeah. Well, this is for the money that will be available June or July 1 of next year. So, but basically what we have to do is we start the process now. And what I sent you was a copy of the application that we've been using. Every 5 years or so, I get sick of it and I redo it. And so this one's not 5 years old yet, so I haven't totally redone it. But I keep trying to make it better so that it's easy for people to fill out and they answer the questions. They know what the questions mean and they answer them and they give us the answers that we need to make a decision. So I don't know if you guys looked at the one with the track changes in it or not, but basically what I did was I updated it for the new information, the new goals and objectives of our new consolidated plan, and I updated it so that it's going to be like, it's not going to be an online application, but they're going to mail it in. It's not like we're going to send it out and collect all these copies and stuff. Everything's going to be done, online and in the electronically. I changed, of course, the income changed every year. So those changes are just normal changes. And like I said, I changed all the goals to fit our new plan.
So I did have one question about the goals. Like, in the beginning, there are the goals from the consolidated plan or from
This is, yeah, goals and strategies.
yeah, and then in the back, they're not parallel, or there are additional ones that are on the application itself.
Well, those are the ones that, hold on a second. There's, you're not talking about the selection criteria,
Maybe I am.
but I know what you mean. Let me keep going because I haven't gotten through this entire document yet.
Okay.
I've been like chugging along, but I wanted to talk about it now because the application will go out in the middle of October, which means we have a whole month to fool around with it. And
Can be done electronically.
yeah, I'm going to talk to IT about it. I mean, right now it's a fill-inable PDF.
Oh,
When
okay,
it
cool.
finally gets posted on the website, it is a fill-inable PDF.
I think what Nancy was talking about, because I noticed it too, the goals at the back in the actual
Right.
application are
Right,
the,
yeah, I
are the,
haven't
they
gotten
need to
that
be- I
far.
think they need to be revised.
Right, yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Gotten that far.
Because
Okay.
it should be the old ones that you revised at the
Right.
beginning.
Right.
Right,
I think that's what, yeah, I noticed it too.
I was okay.
thank you.
Right.
What page are you
somewhere
referring to?
It's
Be on page
separated on
7
the screen.
of the application.
yeah.
Page 7 of
Somewhere-
the application.
I don't
Thank
remember
you for
what
picking
page
up
it was
on that.
I don't remember what page it was on, but there was a typo. But that
Well,
I don't
that-
remember where it was
Yeah,
supposed
I'll
to be.
clean that, I'll clean that up when it's done. I'm looking more for, right now I'm looking for more substantive,
Yeah.
if there's any substantive changes.
Can I say one thing though?
Yeah,
Some applicants write real direct and they answer the questions.
yeah.
Some of the other applicants seem to like
Meander
talk a
around.
lot, but not always get the questions answered, or so I don't know if there's it's hard to find the answers in their narrative. So I don't know if there's a way to suggest to people that less words might be better, and
Well,
being more direct would help us review their applications.
Well, we've tried to like limit the amount of space that they can, the amount of amount that they can type in there. So we've done that, but they're consistently the same groups too.
I know.
I've told, there was one person I said, can I just help you with, like editing some of your stuff because it's so verbose and you can't really understand. But yeah, I know what you mean. And we do limit how much space.
I don't want to insult anybody either.
Yeah.
It just would help them, help us, would make their application
It's
better.
kind of like what Teresa did, like what Teresa did on the presentations. She like,
Let's set out
what you
questions.
need to do. This is how long for each. Yeah.
Yeah.
It works. The presentations.
Right. Well, at one point, I think I had maximum number of words because actually everything I do
500.
has a maximum number of words. Like when we do our consolidated plan, each has a maximum number of words, and every DHCD application I have has a maximum number of characters or words. So we could take a look at that and see, I could get
August
one of the
decided
really
to
good,
join us.
if somebody wants to mail me, just email me which application they think is, is good, or which organization. I'll try to, I'll try to work it so that there's just so many characters they can put in there.
Or just say, try to limit your, to one page or a half or pair. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Maybe that's ridiculous. I don't
Please
know.
be concise.
Yes.
But so anyway, in terms of the selection criteria, HUD wants us to have reasons for why we're selecting things. Some organizations have points. A lot of the applications I have that with DHCD, you get so many points for this and so many points for that. And I found that with this particular committee, that was really difficult because, the aldermen were kind of too busy and they didn't want to, go through the whole exercise of having points and having to assign points. So, but we do have selection criteria, and I don't know if anybody uses them. I use them when I evaluate the projects because I have to have some documentation in the folder when it comes to monitor that we had a reason, we had a reasonable reason for, funding stuff. So that would be something I would like for you guys to maybe think about and see if there's anything that you would like to change or add or, because this is the criterion I use when I evaluate them and I make my recommendations. And I really don't think that the committee is.
So this, again, the CBDG funding has to be used for only infrastructure purposes, correct?
No, if you look at the front, it can be 15% of it can be used for public services.
Where do you see that at?
It's at the beginning of the application. It talks about how much can be used for capital projects and how much can be used for public service projects.
Program requirements.
So, and that's statutory. Because this is a bricks and mortar program. It's not
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought that you couldn't take your CBDG money and then go run like a Rex and Parks program, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing that with all the programs that all the programs that we do with OIC and the Lighthouse and all those ones we fund. Those are all operating expenses.
So why does it say like to qualify for funding, a project must meet low and moderate income benefit national objectives? This means must benefit LMI persons or households.
Right. So the recreation program that you would run would have to be in the Clay Street neighborhood at the Stanton Center.
Oh,
because that's that neighborhood we know is a low and moderate income neighborhood. We couldn't take this over to Ward 1 and run a recreation program, but we could still run a recreation program.
It's
just such a small amount of money. It's only if you take 15% of our allocation, it's only like about $30,000 that you have to spread out. So most of our organizations use it as match for like other grants that they apply for. I mean, some of them use it they do use it for operating expenses, but it's really important for them when they apply for other programs to show that the local government is supporting their application and what they're doing.
Well, so I think back to our first year with HACA, everything they applied for was like smoke detectors.
Well, that's bricks, and that's the other 85%.
Okay, all right.
That's the other 85% is for physical things, is for construction.
So 85 and 15. Okay, so 85 for the actual, bricks and mortar, and then the 15 to activities or whatever.
Right. Okay. So, and that's, like I said, it's statutory. It isn't anything that we can.
Because I was so focused on finding. I'm like, what nonprofit does brick and mortar?
Well, nonprofit developers like BCDC.
Right.
Okay, so they could have technically applied for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Teresa,
you can't do it for new housing construction. You can only do rehab.
So in reading this as a RFP, if you will, like if I'm applying, I got a little confused because I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to be evaluated? And you talk about, I don't know if they have page numbers, but like you said, you mentioned the performance measurement indicators, but like you said, we don't have a scoring system for them.
Right.
And we probably, how hard would that be?
It's really easy. You just figure out how you want to weight them. The problem is getting the committee.
You mean us?
To actually do it.
Well, remember our discussion on the last meeting? That would have been helpful because we were like,
I gave you all stuff to look at. Everybody ignored it.
Oh, we're getting scolded.
Well, really, nope, I'm sorry, but
I don't know what you guys.
It's in the folder, right?
Yeah.
No, nobody
Is it in the housing community development? Like, is a drive, right?
Well, yeah. And I put them in there, and the selection criteria, it's a separate page. And you could take those selection criteria and actually give them points. But the problem, like I said, is most of the elected officials really, I mean, I am scolding you, I'm sorry, didn't really want to take it just didn't go with the way they,
I think it didn't go with how they wanted to make their decision.
yeah, they didn't want to make their decisions based on this criteria.
They didn't want to be set to numbers that might not agree with really what they wanted to do. Because once you go that numerical route, it's the highest number.
That's it.
You never know how it's going to turn out. So that there's some limitations with that. So that's the sense I get.
Yeah. So, but even if people would just, use some of these criteria and say, well, I based it on blah, blah, blah. So that's why I'm saying, take a look at the selection criteria that we have now, see if there's anything you want to change or add. I mean, these are really, things that we've used, I've used over the years to make my selection. And plus the fact that I know the organizations and I've worked with them for a long time. So I have a sense of
What they can
how
accomplish.
well they do. I can tell by the reports they send me, if they're on time, if they're not, I have a fairly good sense of how they operate.
So how do we bring in new organizations though now so that we don't continue? Because now that I know that it is not just confined to actual infrastructure projects, how do we bring in new organizations that may be?
You give me their names and we send them an application. I've got a listing of probably 60 organizations in the city that these go to. So most of the nonprofits that deal with low and moderate income people are aware of this application.
Yeah.
A lot of them, some of them don't want to do it because it's too little money for an awful lot of reporting. So it's not worth it.
Why am I thinking of, last year I recall us giving out so much money.
We had extra money last year.
Oh, okay.
We had program income, so we had $150,000 extra.
Oh, because I'm like,
that only happens once. That will happen like once every 10 years or once every 7 years. You'll get a big, like what happened with last year was at least four people passed away. And when they pass away before their rehab loan expires, which is 15 years, that money has to come back to the city, because if it transfers, if they give it or sell it, then the money comes back to us, and then we redo it, and then we repurpose it again. So we had a number of people that passed last year and sold their property. And if they do it within 15 years, they have to pay us back. We're pretty generous. Most organizations, it's 30 years. Like ACDS is out 30 years. We're only out 15 years. So and most of the organizations that we send these applications to are also organizations that are on the community grants list. So it turns out that we might send out 60, notices, and we only get like so many back, because it's not that much money. And for some people, it just isn't worth it.
Well,
the reporting requirements that they have.
We'll see now, because COVID, I'm sure everybody wants the extra dollar. That's also a thing, because
hopefully we're going to get more COVID money.
Yeah, I was ready to say, I thought we got that interim CBDG money once COVID first broke, and we gave it to remember we met with the Lighthouse and all of those organizations.
Oh, 6 organizations, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now the second wave of CDBG is going to the county. We're not included. The state decided the second round of CDBG money is going to the state. The state decided that they didn't want to deal with the whole, They just wanted to make it available to the counties and not the local government. So I talked to the county and they're gonna apply and they're gonna put it in their eviction pot.
Okay.
So
And
that'll cover
you
the
know,
city of Annapolis. So we're good. Then there's gonna be a third round
but
of
but
CD.
to your point with that though, really quickly, because we still have not addressed or fixed this issue. Not we, as in this committee, but elected officials, leaders, or whatever, because there is still a legitimate issue with the application process, the knowledge to get assistance in regards to eviction, like monetary assistance. And so I've, throughout the entire recess, have been helping my residents apply to multiple organizations, third-party organizations that are supposed to help with eviction, assistance and all that stuff. And there are two issues that I've ran into. The first being that if you've lost your job or if you're behind in rent, the county has decided that I don't know if it's for all, but for certain organizations, they can't give you rental assistance until you are actually about to get evicted, which sucks because now they aren't able to give out funding. This is what I was told. They aren't able to give out funding until December the 31st.
I thought it ended the 31st.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so it's like for new cases, they aren't able to get funding until December the 31st, which is now, I feel like will create a backlog. So now they're just trying to play catch up with all of the cases that they had from March through August. And to that point, they are also behind on funding, which I'm glad that you said that the second round of CBDG, the county plans to put into its eviction funding. I have a resolution that I'm presenting to the council for our, and this is now just scoped for the city. This is only for city residents because we have had, so I can't tell you the amount of trouble I've had trying to get eviction assistance for my residents. And so I've went to the city manager and I've requested that we take $100,000 and put for our city residents for eviction and assistance. The issue is that we always run into is that they say, well, we don't have any way to process applications for eviction assistance. And so that's we've run into that. And I think that, well, then we need to create a way, or we need to hire somebody to help us create a way. Because if the issue is that our residents are getting overlooked in the county funding and we are falling back on the back end with our subsidized properties, I don't know, that puts me in a difficult situation. I know, especially with my residents.
But you need to let me know these things because I'm dealing with the county. So I am working with ACDS, which is my counterpart. And if I don't know that there's problems, I can't talk to them about it. Roanoke Community Development Services is the agency that's managing the county's program.
Okay, I think we may be talking about two different things then. I thought the county in the first round, they gave the money, example, to like Lighthouse, to Action Agency.
Well, no, those agencies are processing the applications.
So
ACDS has the money.
Okay, well then maybe the application process is where we're having assistance. So maybe that 100 grand should go towards, I'm glad we're having this because then I can put this into the legislation. Maybe that 100 grand goes to, I don't know, general tech support, whatever they need to create a better infrastructure to process applications.
I think a lot of it's just that there were so many applications that you don't have enough staff initially because you're not staffed up for that. And then all of a sudden somebody gives you, $400,000 or something, you got to staff up. So you have to pull your staff that you have away and get them staffed up to do that. And then you have to hire new people. So it's not something that
why is it not at a point where we are, where I feel that it is moving effectively, where the residents are being best served. I think now, for example, you go through the traditional process, you send in the application. You don't get a call back right away because obviously everybody is working remote. So you send in the application.
Right.
You're waiting to hear back. It could be 2-3 weeks. In the meantime, they're calling their council person. And so you're communicating with this agency and they have no idea where any of it is. Or they're trying to track it down and so how do we help or am I out of line in suggesting even that we step in and assist in that role? I just think that maybe if we can get a list of city residents, maybe if they submit an application to us and we're able to communicate on their behalf with the, I don't know. I'm just trying to best.
We can do all that, but you have to tell me. Because that's what I do.
Yeah.
In other words, you call me and you tell me I'm having, because I do this all the time with social services and the homeless coordinator and HACA. You know, I get a call from social services and they say, we're trying to get this person in and we're not hearing anything. And then I call over to HACA and try to find out what's happening. Yeah. So if you don't tell me that you're having all these problems, and if you don't give me like the names of the people, then there's no way that I can, you know,
and so I think
I can follow up on that. I can call over to ACDS. We have a really good working relationship and say, hey, you know, this person didn't this person, or I can call the Lighthouse Shelter. You know, I mean, that's what
I think to that point, I'm glad that the consent decree is creating, so like we talked about earlier, some sort of office or space for you, because I don't generally pair your job duties to that. I don't, when that pops in my head, I don't traditionally think, oh, let me call Teresa, because I always look at your role as more of the, you know, like infrastructure, the actual like.
Oh, I do a lot of things.
I don't look at the social services. Yeah. I didn't really look at the social services scope of it. So
the consent decree, I mean, I really agree with them elevating like basically Teresa's role and working. They recommend her working with almost like a new office of affordable housing and economic development together.
But really what we need is that Office of Community Caring. Is that the new thing, that new office?
Yeah, we're trying to get.
That's where that goes. Yeah, that's where the function that I do with all these different people that I help. That if we had, that's where this would go.
Absolutely, but to as we discussed earlier, I think they would work hand in hand. You know, and I think that creates a unique partnership. I don't know. I think that would be really, really good to just have your office grow out of this. I would like to see it not even under planning and zoning. I'd like to see it. Yes,
absolutely. Got to get out from underneath planning and zoning.
That's what the housing and community. It's a different thing, though. We're talking about two different kinds of disciplines here in terms of housing and community development and human services.
So real quick question. So this Office of Community Caring, or whatever we're calling it, it doesn't exist because it's not funded?
It hasn't been even proposed in legislation yet.
Okay. Because you have $100,000 now, maybe that could be used for it.
It is in the budget. The funding is there, but the legislation hasn't been proposed to craft it. And so several other people have different theories on how they like to see it done.
All right.
You don't want to know.
No, I don't want. It's okay. I get it.
I'm gonna just say this: only one older person has an additional $50,000 to go along with his proposal. So I don't know his name. He may look like me, but
but the thing of it is I don't know how to encourage you more to talk to your staff, because we're out there doing all this stuff, and to ask us, how this works and how we can make it, a little bit more streamlined, because we're the ones that are dealing with all the agencies and stuff.
So to that point though, Susie Smith, I don't know if you got it. She sent out an email today from the governor addressing eviction and all this money. Did you get that? I mean, she just sent it out with no, it's great. I mean, I'm so glad she did, but did anyone read or get that or know what?
Yeah. So
do
the
with it.
Hogan administration opens application period for 16 million in Maryland eviction prevention partnership grants. That was the
Sounds
headline.
like money.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't get that from her, but again, that all filters through the county.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Right, but it covers the city of Annapolis. I mean, I check in every once in a while with the Rundle Community Development Services to see, if they're serving city residents.
Okay,
And
good.
So
can we get some cold hard statistics on that?
yeah, in fact, they actually sent me an email because I asked them,
Yeah, that'd
are
be
you
great.
seeing a lot? Because don't forget, the places that you apply are in the city.
Mhm.
I mean, the places that you apply are at the Lighthouse Shelter, the Community Action Agency, and then the local management, Children, Youth, and Families. So all those organizations are working together, and there's a large, from what I understand from Kathy Koch and Aaron, is there's a very large amount of applications coming from the city of Annapolis. So
how? But can we get if possible?
it was more than the yeah, I can get statistics. I'll send you the email she sent me.
More than the population.
No, I mean it's in proportion to the in proportion to the population. There's more coming from the city of Annapolis. It's mostly city of Annapolis and Brooklyn.
I would be very interested in saying that because I want to see a funding breakdown, maybe how much they give. Because
I think it's all on their website, to be honest with you. A lot of it's on their website.
What'd you say it was?
It's a Rundle Community Development Services. It's the organization that it's a private version of me.
That's by Kathy Koch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I do
public.
know of
They're a
this.
nonprofit instead of part of we're part of the planning and zoning department.
Yeah.
She's a nonprofit, just like our economic development people are part of the planning and zoning department. In the county, the economic development people are a nonprofit.
Very interesting.
So if you look them up.
Yeah, I'm on their webpage.
So you have to, like anything that's related to housing and community development. Ask me first, because a lot of times I might be able to give you the answer right away. I mean, I could tell you're frustrated with the fact that you have all these people that you're trying to help, but I
get frustrated at the time.
You could give me like their names, and I could send a list to, ACDS and say, hey, well, what's happening with these folks. So,
I will actually do that because. So what my original process was is that I would, get stuff and then I go through the city management and all that stuff. Obviously not time, me. I like quick turnaround and that wasn't working for me. So then I just started
because that's not what they do.
To do it myself. I would be like, all right, well then I'll call the offices, coordinate with the staff. Like that's what I did all of recess. I was on the phone with Community Action Agency and stuff. And that's not fun. It's just a lot of work. And so I definitely would like supporting that. So I will send you these names. We're at $435,000 in back rent in the city across the 4 HACA properties.
Well, one of the problems with the residents, we have to encourage them to go ahead and request their rent
reduction.
Request, because that's one of their problems. They're not putting in those requests to have their letting people know that they don't have that they don't have jobs, and that's what's that's the problem. So helping those people get those things in is what we need to do, because their rents will be reduced.
And so with that, if they obviously clear out the back, under the first eviction moratorium, public housing residents were not eligible to receive funding. Do you
wait a minute.
They couldn't get rental, they couldn't get apply for eviction assistance because they
weren't being evicted, were they?
Yeah, they weren't. So remember at that, it was a time where it was like if you were in public housing, you were actually a lot safer than.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
covered, because you just let them know that you're unemployed,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
reduce your rent because the rent is subsidized by HUD.
Yeah, so now that that's over, though, and my question is that, and when they do apply for the I'm saying not now, I'm saying in December the 31st. Once that's over, and if you are still on an application list waiting for your rental assistance, will you be evicted, or would you have protections? Is my question.
Well, you have to. Well, you would have to follow the housing authority rules. You shouldn't be in a position of being evicted.
Right.
If you report that your income went down, then they adjust your rent. So you should be paying your rent. It might go down from, $100 a month down to $50 a month because it's 30% of your income.
So for example, let me just
My-
use Eastport as an example. Eastport Terrace and Harbor House. On that property, there is from March 13th through August 13th, there was $135,000 in back rent. And
But what was the back rent from?
from just people not paying their rent.
Okay, well, that's a whole different thing.
Well, but so obviously not paying in part due to them losing like their job and stuff like that.
That's another thing. Those are two separate issues.
Yeah. My question is that, so if I've had the back rent and I go in now and I say, hey, like I had lost my job, will they go back and adjust the expected? Okay, so I'd still owe the total of rent from March through August. And so I then would be eligible to apply for eviction assistance, because if I still owe that large amount of money and I haven't been able to create a payment plan because I don't have any income coming in, I'm relying then on the application to get eviction assistance. And so I think that is where my issue is that I'm worried that the back rent, not the what is proposed now, because everybody knows now, and I hope that everybody knows that you have until October the 9th to create that payment plan. But I'm worried about that back rent from March through August evicting people once the moratorium is lifted.
I'll have to check into that, but it would seem to me that if a person lost their job in April and they reported it in April, that the rent would have been reduced and they wouldn't have any back rent. But if they waited till August.
I think that's the situation Dwan is finding.
So we have to figure out a way to get to those people and get them to put those requests in. We need to help them.
This is Joel from the Office of Law.
Oh yeah, hi Joel.
How's everyone? Hey, I'm listening to the conversation. I think one of the things that makes this conversation a little bit more impossible to have is that no one in the conversation is knowledgeable of two things. One of the things, it's HACA has an agreement that settled the lawsuit into a form of a consent decree that may address some of these concerns, and I have no idea. In discussion, what issue, if any, and the quantification of that issue. So it might be okay for us to invite someone to give us the perspective, but I'm not sure how, without someone knowledgeable as in the day-to-day operations from HACA, without someone like that being able to comment, I'm not sure how far we're going to be able to get into a conversation, because to me, it contains too much theory and not enough fact to help us understand how we should be acting.
Right, and that's something we could do at our next meeting. We could have somebody from HACA, but also have somebody from Arundel Community Development Services come and talk about how they're,
Absolutely.
processing also, and they don't have to come anywhere. They can be,
Do we
Yes.
do we have to wait to the next meeting? Can't you guys, since it's an issue right now, could you guys have that conversation in a small meeting and then bring back to this bigger group?
Well,
because it sounds like an urgent issue that you can talk about now. We don't have to wait 30 days to figure it all out.
Well, that was my thing, is why I would not, are we able to, I don't know by code, if I wanted to create a special meeting of the Housing and Community Development Committee, would we be able to come, I don't know, say next week and have conversation like this again?
We don't really need to have a conversation, like she said, with the whole committee. It could be a conversation with myself and you and Arundel Community Development Services
I
on
would
one
like you,
side of
Dwan.
it, and then Hack on the other side. It doesn't,
So I would say this Friday we have a standing meeting with HACA run by Sally from Dr. Nash.
oh,
So
okay.
we have a standing meeting with HACA and Alderman Gay. If you would like to participate, I think it's no more necessary than you sending a request to participate in this Friday afternoon meeting. I think it's at 1 p.m. And you
Okay.
can have these issues addressed because we are dealing with people that may be knowledgeable, and especially given your role in the in the committees relative to the again the same a different consent decree that we entered into that was approved today by the city council. I suspect that your leadership in this area is going to be much anticipated and requested.
Yeah, I think that's why I would like all of us to not this Friday's meeting, but at that next meeting, we all should be on the same page, because I feel like all of us, this committee right here, it will be involved in the next steps following that consent decree. Obviously, if you guys haven't read it yet, we're mentioned like 3 times.
I know.
So,
Yeah.
there is a role that we will have to play in that. So I think that, if we're all on the same page and looped in all in the conversations, that'll be good. At least that's the way I like to operate, because I just find it more easy for communication.
And also, if you guys wanted to submit the questions that you have, we could probably submit those to HACA, and then by Friday or even next Monday or something like that, whenever they have the opportunity, at least we'll have official answers to the questions you have. So even the questions you have today, I think they're relevant. It's just we should seek the responses from HACA directly so we can know where they stand on the issue.
Okay.
Now, Dwan, just a quick question. Are the people that you're dealing with, are they all Hacker residents?
Not all.
Okay, so
most
we
are
probably,
subsidized housing.
so we should probably, we should probably, let me talk to ACDS and we see if we can set up a meeting with them
Okay.
and see how the programs, how it's working. And
Dwan, and Teresa, did you get Melissa's latest correspondence on rent? That she takes a strong position on collecting rent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that Friday is probably going to be enlightening.
right. Well, they're under, HUD's pressuring them to collect rent. They have to.
Right.
That's how they manage their properties.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised when this all happened that they didn't let the residents know if they lost their jobs.
They did.
Oh, they did.
They did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did all that.
Okay. All right.
I think that, again, and this is how we all have to, it was a new experience. It was a pandemic. Nobody knew. But you can't say something like that, or you can't expect dramatic administrative changes and paperwork and all of this stuff, and then go on hiatus for 3 months. Like when with Bay Ridge Gardens, their property management was back in office March, the first week of April. They weren't playing. They were rocking and rolling, collecting data, finding out what needed to be done. HACA didn't have staff on property, and they still don't have all their staff on property. And that creates an issue, because everything is then done, over the phone, and people are, just looping all around. But Melissa did send out another email or a letter this weekend, following some of, the unfortunate events that took place this weekend in Eastport. And she was very, again, upfront with everyone, saying your rent should be your priority.
Yeah.
And so I had a number of people reach out today with me to create payment plans and all of that stuff. And I think a question that I'll ask ACDC or what is it?
ACDS.
ACDS. I need to remember.
Arundel Community Development Services.
Might got to get it tattooed. ACDS. But so is that do they assist, like in some of those instances for the payment plan? you have to put down like 25%. Would they assist in that situation so that the plan can be created, so that you will be, your spot is saved, but before October the 9th, and all of that. So yeah, that meeting would be great. That'd be great.
Is the consent decree online anywhere?
I was just going to ask Joel how we get it to you.
Yeah, I have no idea if it's online.
It's online because it's in the
Oh, it's in our agenda today,
It's
right?
on your agenda, so you can get it.
Okay.
It's
I
37
read
pages.
read the story about it in the Capitol, but I haven't seen it actually.
Yeah, there'll be another press release tomorrow morning in the paper.
Okay.
We should probably have that as an agenda item next time because there's a lot there. I mean, it's a whole restructuring.
Yeah, it looked like there was a lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's do that. So that'll be what, October the 9th, our next meeting?
Mhm.
That may be a busy meeting then, because we were also supposed to be bringing forward the property or what is it? Recreational. I forget their titles.
You were the resident advisors or resident?
Yes, yeah, resident service coordinators. Yeah.
We were going to bring them in, and
yeah, we were supposed to be doing that this meeting, but it got pushed back to next.
And that's
so
kind of, yeah, there's the kind of, that decree says that's the stuff we do.
Yeah.
Right,
I
and
feel
it
like,
also
we
says a lot about the Housing and Human Welfare Committee. So don't
Yeah.
forget, you've got the Housing and Human
Yeah.
Welfare Committee too, to do that stuff.
Right, yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right. It's actually
you need to look and delineate what goes on the Housing and Human Welfare meeting versus
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah, Joel and I said that decree needs a responsibility matrix. It's
just put a name next to every task, and we go through and check by the every week we come through. All right.
So next time you want to, so for the next meeting, again, the resident services coordinators are coming. So do you want to put the consent order stuff on your Housing and Human Welfare Committee meeting?
I mean, but I mean, we could do both, because I still think that Nancy, Terry, Jackie, and whomever else join the committee at later on, they should still be involved, because they will too have to. Or so would you guys come then to our Housing and Human Welfare meeting?
Teresa, you'd have to tell, I mean, yeah, well, we could, I mean, I could.
That's up to the chair of this committee. He's the chair of both committees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can invite who I would assume you.
Yeah, I
Sure.
think
invite whoever you want.
Depending upon when it is, I can come. I don't know about everybody else, but.
So I think we'll do that then for next week's Housing and Human Welfare meeting. We'll discuss the consent decree. I will invite you all to that meeting.
Yeah.
So that everybody can be there, share their opinions on it. Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great then next week.
When is it next week? When is it?
I think we usually do the 15th, the second Tuesday, I believe. But I don't want to tell you the wrong information. I'll check tonight.
Okay.
It's during the day, isn't it?
Yes, usually at like 3 or 4.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
And let us know if you can't find that decree, and
Okay.
Dwan will send it.
Yeah, I can email it to you.
Oh, that probably does.
I'll
Yeah.
just email it to them.
Yeah.
I only have a PDF and I don't know how to get that
But
out.
you're right. I think most of the responsibility is on the standing committee versus us, but maybe, we can get smart on that at the next meeting.
Did you need me to be at the Housing and Human Welfare Committee meeting, or?
Yeah, would you?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'll make sure Takia sends an invitation to you all. And so we'll definitely do that. Okay. So I just realized we're going on 2 hours, and we do have 2 more items on the agenda. The next item on the agenda, the last item on the agenda. The last item on the agenda is the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report.
Well, basically that's the annual report I do to HUD. And because we've just completed a 5-year plan, and there's a whole bunch of accomplishments and things and goals, I had wanted to review those with you, and I sent everybody, I put in, if everybody has access to their Google Drive, I put just a one pager in there that shows everything in a chart. But we can save that till next time.
And
You
so
can look at the chart and
I'm not getting that in my drive, by the way. I pulled it up and I don't see that folder that we.
it's called it's called CDBG 2022. I invited you to, did anybody else, did you guys get in okay?
I see it, but, and I can't look
Oh, I
at
see.
it.
At the CDBG
But
application.
It's on my,
CDBG 2022.
Yeah, I have the CBDG application. I don't have the evaluation thing that you're speaking of.
There should be 3 documents in there,
Hold on 1 second. Let's see.
Oh, on
or
the,
maybe 4.
So it didn't send as a folder. It actually, or at least not for me, it sent as a, hold on, it says quick access. I'm trying to click.
It just uploads. I just uploaded in there and then I let you know. So it's not in yours?
Yeah, would you resend, because the only thing I'm getting again is that Word document, community development block grant application
yeah, me too.
2022.
Just as a,
And you're not getting the other 2 documents?
no,
I didn't.
Okay,
Yeah, so can I make a recommendation? We save that till next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
That'd be great.
yeah, I gotta figure out why it's in my drive. When I look in my drive and I
Yeah,
look in that folder, all 3 of those documents are in there
Yeah.
and they're not, and you're not seeing them.
Going back to the application, going back to the CDBG, I meant to ask you, Teresa, what were you thinking as far as the homeless? I have to find it again. You squished that up a lot on the homeless, and you were thinking something there. And is that related to funding or?
No, we just changed the goals that we had for homeless in the previous
Yeah.
Consolidated plan. The last consolidated plan, the old one is like, it was like a brand new template. And so everybody was learning how to fill it in, and we had some stuff that was just not working. And so we just cleaned it up and made it a lot simpler. Because we were counting 4 different things. It was just really confusing.
And could you give me an example when you say 15% public service? What would be an example of that public service?
It's all our projects like the Center of Help and the Community Action Agency and the homeless shelter and all, Blessed in Tech and those people that get operating money.
And we review it that way.
You review it that way.
Okay. I don't know why.
We always review the first 15% is public service projects, and then the next batch is always the capital
I
project.
didn't make that
And
connection.
that's always, it says it on the thing. So yeah, that I send out,
You'll have it. Yeah.
yeah. So it's funny because the majority of the funding request is for public services.
And it has the least amount.
Right.
Capital,
Right. It's inverse.
But there's a community services block grant, and that goes to the Community Action Agency. So there's the community development block grant, which is mostly bricks and mortar money that goes for housing and community development. And then there's a community services block grant, which comes from HUD also. And that goes to the Community Action Agency for services to for low and moderate income people.
Yeah, that's so many little.
Yeah,
the way.
Oh yeah, it's like.
It's
Keep on
too
top
much,
of it. God.
Keep them all straight.
The one nice thing is we always have enough money to do the capital projects.
Mm-hmm.
Like we do it, and those are important too. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if we didn't have that extra money that we got, we wouldn't have been able to support Newtown.
Right.
Yeah, because we gave the demolition funding. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this year we gave them money because I didn't fund the housing rehab because they hadn't finished up the projects yet. So I was able to give them $100,000 for site improvements.
Right.
And we've done a lot of work at the Stanton Center too over the years, which is really.
Yeah, the Stanton Center, but we haven't done we haven't used CDBG money for the
No,
Stanton
we
Center.
did. I know they've applied for it. Do you always find other sources?
No,
Like-
they don't apply for it. I find other sources for it.
Good, good,
The-
good
the-
stuff.
The Community
Yeah,
Legacy Program. I funded a lot of stuff at the Stanton Center
Yeah.
for the community, from the Community Legacy Program, because
From the
Clay
state.
Street is a community legacy area. So,
yeah, and as we talked about earlier, there's a lot of good stuff being done there in that community.
yeah.
I think in general, Joe, and across the city, I think everybody's in the right place at the right time right now. So I think with that, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Therapy session is over.
Thank you.
I second.
All in favor?
I.
Aye.
Okay, so that'll